Make your next career move your best. Verizon Retail offers the potential to earn up to $50,000 annually and amazing benefits starting on day one, including product discounts and tuition assistance. Apply today at Verizon.com/retail careers.
This is CBS Eye on the World. I'm John Batchelor. To Scott Mayman of CBS News in Brisbane, Queensland. First, to watch the virus, travel restrictions or not, in Australia, and then to talk about Australia's place at the gathering of eagles and doves in Glasgow, Scotland these next days for COP26 and the discussion of climate change. A very good day to you, Scott. I come to the travel story because it is a puzzle. What can and cannot happen if one wants to travel either home to Australia, because you've been kept from that for more than a year, I believe, or at least for some time, to come home from the diaspora, and those of us who want to visit Australia. Right now, U.S. News and Report is saying that there's a travel advisory ahead of border reopening. What is the status of people who want to travel to you in Brisbane or travel to Sydney from outside of Australia? Good day to you.
G'day, John. Yeah, it's full of conflict, isn't it? Who can travel? What do you need? Things like that. Let's set the record straight at the moment. If you are an Australian citizen, you've been stuck in North America since the border closed, the Australian border closed March last year. We're talking about 20 months, a long time to be stuck somewhere. You will be eligible to fly back home to Australia. If you fly into Sydney, you will not need to quarantine, providing you've been double vaccinated. You've had both jabs. You can isolate at home, which is something which we haven't seen for such a long time. So there's a lot of joy in the announcement that after this weekend, we're talking November 1st, these new travel rules come into play. An Australian who has been banned from travelling out of Australia to another country since March 2020, 20 months again, will be allowed to travel. There will be no more need for exemptions to travel for emergencies or for family deaths or personal reasons after November 1st. However, if you are from another country, North America, and you want to visit Australia, and you've heard that our borders are opening, no, you cannot come to Australia just yet. It's not part of the current border reopening arrangement. That is going to come next year. So we're looking at sometime next year before Australia will be willing to receive tourists. But at the moment, if you are an Australian citizen or a former resident and you can legally return to Australia, you can do so without having to go into a hotel quarantine at your own expense, organised by the government. You can do that from November 1st. So that's the clarification there. We're not taking tourists at the moment, but that is the next plan after our border reopening November 1st.
Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, who is a very good barbecue master or chef, is also in the news because of the gathering in Glasgow. The headline from ABC News, our ABC here in the U.S., Australian Prime Minister will take net zero target to COP26. Australia's Prime Minister says his country will commit to a target of net zero carbon emissions by 2050, but will not increase its goal for 2030 at an upcoming UN climate summit in Scotland. You have a very large green presence in Australia right now. Is this popular, net zero 2050, or do they want more?
Oh, this project has more twists and turns in his proposal than a backyard garden hose. Basically, this has been a very much rushed project that the Prime Minister has delivered. He made the announcement earlier this week that He'll be taking an action plan to Glasgow for the 2050 plan that you've just read out. However, it has been met with scepticism across Australia because he's only announced the proposal. He has not delivered on how the proposal is going to work. And another political side here, John, the coalition government, which is led by the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, his deputy is Barnaby Joyce, and it's actually the merger of two parties, the Liberal Party, which is led by Scott Morrison, and the National Party, which is more for the remote outback population, which is led by Barnaby Joyce. And Barnaby Joyce has raised his concerns about how this package is going to be delivered, what is going to happen to regional Australia, because it seems to be he's at loggerheads with the Prime Minister as to what's going on. He hasn't had his right answers that he's asked questions of, and there seems to be a bit of backlash going on from the National Party. So just to reiterate, our coalition government is a merger of the National Party and the Liberal Party, and there seems to be a lot of infighting going on. So Prime Minister Scott Morrison could be announcing one thing at Glasgow, but when he gets back home to Australia and makes his revelations as to how this is going to be delivered, we could see some pulling back on what will actually be happening by 2050.
Australia is a very large and rich country of natural resources, all of which call into question the greenhouse gases. There are many twists and turns here. It produces iron ore in a plenty, and over these last years, that iron ore is poured into China. Steel manufacturing is one of the great greenhouse gas producers. However, we'll go to the Australian environment because that's also in the news. Right now, Australia has not committed to methane. Methane is the British side, reduction target. Reading Canberra, Australia on Thursday passed, ruled out promising to cut methane emissions by 30% by the end of the decade in a stance that will add to criticism that the country is a laggard in addressing climate change. Do you see this on the telly, Scott? People arguing about methane.
There is a lot of argument about methane or methane, however you want to pronounce it. And if you believe the environmentalists, we have to stop eating meat. That is the biggest cause of methane. That's what the environmentalists are saying. At the moment, it seems to be a case that nobody's really taking action on it. We've got suddenly in our faces the talk about the Glasgow meeting, various environmental issues that have come up. But this is something which has not been touched, and it's probably been superseded by all the news about COVID and the reopening of the Australian border. So this is something which hasn't really been touched on much within Australian circles, within the population.
We come to wildfires, which plagued Australia some years past before the pandemic. Now there are controlled burns going on in this beautiful part of Sydney North called Ingleside. My, it's gorgeous, gorgeous country, Scott. However, controlled burns, were they not practiced before the big fires? Is this something new? We have about a minute.
Those fires were absolutely terrible. Depends on who you believe. Some people say those fires from 2019 were caused by climate change, as you would have seen in your TV news. Devastation. Others say that government officials didn't listen to fire authorities who wanted back-burning operations prior to those fires, which allowed the fires to become so huge. So back-burning is now part of everyday life. You can have back-burning in winter, back-burning at any time, providing conditions prevail. But now, this is something which is being taken very seriously. We will see more of these back-burning operations prior to our big bushfire season.
Scott, just taking a glance at this, Ingleside, Sydney North, you've got a beautiful continent. My goodness, Scott, you're a lucky man. Scott Maiman, CBS News in Brisbane, Queensland, which is even more gorgeous than Sydney. Sydney's settled compared to Queensland. This is CBS Eye on the World. I'm John Batchelor.
At Busch Gardens Christmastown, rekindle the spirit of holiday traditions for you and your family. Savor refreshing Coca-Cola while you delight in over 10 million twinkling lights and new holiday shows. Cherish the moments as you visit Santa and Rudolph and immerse yourself in a world transformed by the season at the world's most beautiful theme park. The holidays shine brightest at Busch Gardens Christmastown. Select dates through January 2nd. Right now, tickets as low as $39.99. Hurry before prices go up. Restrictions apply.
Black Friday's here at JCPenney, and so are even more new Black Friday deals this Friday through Sunday. Don new Champion apparel for the family up to 40% off. Plus, find a little extra sparkle in your savings with up to 75% off fine jewelry. These deals and more end Sunday. Happy Black Friday, JCPenney. Offers valid on select items 11/12 through 11/14. Exclusions apply. Champion excluded from coupons. See store or DCP.com for details.